infringing on that, infringing on that mommy daddy time.
That's right. Well, that's what husbands do. That's what guys do. We mess up all the time. I
Yeah.
was meeting with somebody yesterday and it was just like, he was telling me some stories and stuff, and I was like, huh, you too as a husband? Yeah, that happens to you too?
Yeah. All of us, I tell you, man. And it's so hard. It's so hard not to mess up. It's like a constant thing. And every time I'm turning around, and my wife, thank you, she's so gracious, I've had that on record. But every time I turn around, it just feels like okay. So that's the thing. So let me hold on.
Right.
Let me back up. I'm sorry. Really? Okay. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all of us. Yeah, man. That's just that's the beauty of marriage. That's the beauty of a man
being different.
Yeah,
being different.
Yeah, being different.
Yeah.
For real.
It's like, well, did you hear what I just said? I was like, yeah, I heard exactly what you said. And then you say it and it's like, that's not what I said. Well, that's what I heard. What did you say? I said this. I'm like, oh, well, obviously I didn't hear that.
Yeah, and then we always, it's like if we don't take the humility road, we'll never win. Like, and that's one thing as a man we've realized. Like, when we get into those, you gotta at some point just kind of succumb to okay, and you gotta do it where your wife knows you mean it. You know what I mean? Like it can't be
transactional and condescending.
Yeah, or it's gonna you're gonna be sleeping on the couch, or you just gonna get the silent treatment. So
I've slept on the couch already. And believe it or not, this is year 5 now, man.
Wow. 5. Man, it's interesting. So this is year 5 for you. So when would 6 be? When would you make 6 years?
Technically, in my mind, and it doesn't work this way. So we were married on January 21st of 2017, at the very start of the year. So to me, that's year 1. So technically that's, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. To me, that's 6, but it's really 5.
Right. So you're like at 5 and 3 months almost, right. Something like that.
Yeah.
All right. So you're into year 6, but you haven't made the 6th year. But yeah. So what's interesting though, man, is me and Ashley, we've got an anniversary coming up Monday, by the way.
This Monday.
The 11th. 2 days from now. And it's gonna make 8 years, man.
Wow.
Yeah, 8 years. But here's what's interesting. Wow. So because marriage came so suddenly for me. I remember I had just gone to a couple friends' weddings, and it's just so interesting to look back and see they were only like they're at 9 years and then 10 years.
Right.
And it's just so crazy that I'm so close to them in terms of getting married. I remember going to their wedding and I didn't even have a prospect at the time. I'm not thinking about marriage. Looking back, I'm like, wow, I got married not too long after them.
Yeah. And the funny thing about that too is like I think you were in between dating at that point, weren't you? Kind of.
Oh, no, for the record, no, of course not.
No.
I went 3 or 4 years before I married my wife without dating anybody. Yeah, no, but for real.
We both know that Ashley would be like, what?
Women would love to think that, you just cut everything off and spent all that time with God some years before you heard from the Lord and married them. But no, I was probably in between, dating somebody,
right.
Yeah.
But I will say that I for me, relationship has always been I don't know, more of something that I've always craved and wanted. I remember wanting to be dating somebody, being in a relationship with somebody, and I was just always chasing that, And with my last relationship, last longing relationship prior to Jill, I was so heartbroken because I knew I was the one that caused it to break up. I knew I was doing all the things that would cause it to end the way it ended. And I had nobody to blame but myself. And that was the moment that helped me make a choice. I can't do this on my own anymore. And I don't want to do this on my own anymore. And I remember, just kind of surrendering. And also at that point too, I remember going through after I made my choice for salvation, that I wanted to date again. And so, but at some point, somewhere in that 21 days of prayer where I fasted off it, I do remember saying to the Lord, look, if you just want me to be a monk in a cave by myself, not with anybody anymore, that's fine. I'll do it. But, and it wasn't too long after that, I do believe I ended up talking to Jill. So I get the timeline and the stories of events kind of mixed up on my head, but I do remember saying that to myself and having that conversation with the Lord. So, relationships are complicated.
Yeah, man, they are. And it's interesting though. You bring up a point though, even with you fasting, you had said you had gotten to a place where you were like, Lord, whatever you want me to do. And it's just so interesting how my life, your life, those who we talk to, we can see that thing. When I talked to my wife the other day, she was talking about how she had been struggling with something. She had prayed and said, Lord, you got to take it. And she gave it to him. Next thing you know, something happened, a breakthrough. And so that's a very important thing though, because as you were saying earlier, many times in life, we are trying to do something, on our own accord. I mean, it's natural. We're human.
Yeah.
We're trying to fill the void. You want it today. And as a man and as a believer, a Christian man, I know that was a desire of my heart too, to be married, because I was trying to live my life, in a way that was pleasing to God. And so that was a natural thing. But again, it still wasn't until, like, for me, I wasn't even expecting it at this point in time.
Right.
And again, you were just, you had yielded and said, Lord, whatever your will be. And, oftentimes that's when, the Lord will present things to us, because we're in a place where we are pliable and willing to accept. We're out of our own way. Because it's so funny. My wife and I have talked before. We both have admitted that, without God, without the leading of the Holy Spirit, we probably wouldn't have chosen each other,
Yeah.
But that's just how it works. So the Lord had to get us both out of our own way. Both of us had these paths, and God had to get us to yield. And then, in my story, really just present my wife. I mean, at the point in time where I was just least expecting it. And I thank God for it, because me being such a, just in my own head, so conscientious, so methodical about everything. Many times in my life, I probably, bamboozled my own self out of things. So.
And as a result, you have a beautiful family, you have a house, you have a car, you have a job. I mean, I think in the end, it helped. I think the family really helped stabilize you in a way, didn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. Because if you think about it, the second you have a mortgage and a house and all that, you do, even though you don't realize it, it's like another level of your life activates, and you start behaving a little differently for the most part, if you're receptive and want to move into that next mode of your life. I mean, we've got, we know people that get married and then they still act like they're not married.
And they have issues usually. Yeah.
Yeah, they usually have issues. Yeah, and that's interesting too, is that they usually have issues. And I always wonder if those issues, I mean, obviously it has something to do with generational things and it has something to do with your environment and those types of things. But I mean, how much of those play a factor? That's what I wonder. Which one is more of a factor than the other? But ultimately it comes down to our choice. Um,
Yeah, you know, it's interesting you say that, because I think we both can attest, when we're entering a marriage, and our desire is to, join with our wife and make it work naturally, there will be issues that arise because of those differences.
yes.
And many times that makes, marriage, especially those first years, they can be really, really rocky because of those differences. But through those trials, we're bonded together and we learn from each other. And we gain the good from each other. And I think that's the great thing about unity or union, is that's what happens. The things that we would not have changed because we were our own individual selves, and even the faults that we had that we couldn't see, our little idiosyncrasies and things that maybe we thought were great. When we're joining with that other person, it really shows us. It shows us.
It's like a mirror.
It's like a mirror, man. And I think that's the difference between when you're joined and you're really trying. You have that desire. You see those things, but when you join and you don't yet, maybe you're not in that mindset or whatever the case may be. You won't have that growth if you're not willing to commit to it. And that's the key. I mean, the commitment really, makes the difference, man.
I agree.
It's easy to run.
Yeah. Well, the way I look at it is this is an expression that was put on me, was I feel like you're in a relationship, period. You're always growing. You're either growing apart or you're growing together, but you're always growing. So, and it's ultimately being able to recognize what you want, whether you want to stay committed to that, and choosing it. Sometimes you have to choose it daily to grow together. And, it's hard because I know I'm stubborn as a dang mule. And so, as much as like when we first started dating, I presented myself in this way, but once we got married and we're together, some of those things are still true. Like my love of anime, that's never going to stop. Never going to stop. But some of those other things, they started to fall away. And so she got to see kind of the real me, and she still loved the real me. And so I think I created walls as a way to protect myself, and I didn't realize I was doing it, but I did it. And, it's one of those things that it is hard work, because as you get married to somebody, they start shaping you. And hopefully you're shaping them. I will say that she's a lot more able to see the gray, a lot more mellow, and I'm a lot more assertive and a lot more like black and white than I used to be. Like, it's like we took each of our traits and started having each other's traits, because that we started dating in 2013, so next year will be 10 years of being together.
Wow.
So that's and you sometimes when a marriage is really good, it's hard to see the differences between the other person, because they're so much alike. Like outside people looking in, it's like y'all are so much alike, and I'm like, I'm nothing like her. What are you talking about,
man? Exactly. Yeah, similar situation, circumstance. Yeah, folks see us and they're like, man, y'all are so much alike. And we know in spirit we really are. Like we have similar passions and compassion and all of that. But in terms of personality, we're so different. But I love to, and I know you all have gotten to see it with Evie, man. But I'm and getting to see it. But I love to see the combination of us and our children.
Oh,
And us
yeah.
having three
Oh,
girls,
yeah.
you really get a variety of it.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, kind of a funny joke. Well, I don't know if it's really funny, but I know there's times, not so much now, but there's times I look at things that my children do that I didn't like, and you know, especially, I don't know, you know, we're in marriage, you're gonna be critical of the other, and you learn to get along and all that. But at times, you know, I'm like, yeah, that's mommy right there. You know, I don't know that, but I'm just thinking yes. Like, yeah, that's definitely her.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
So, but yeah, that's just kind of something I keep to myself more or less. But I'm sure she does the same thing. And I feel like she kind of throws it, like she'll acknowledge something that the child does, and she'll be like, yeah, I don't do that. I don't know where she got that from. I feel like it's like implied that she got it from me. That's one thing that my wife does a whole lot. I don't know if she knows it, but like indirectly.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And the cool thing about my wife is I really don't think she ever does it on purpose. Like I never think she's just a beautiful. She's just saying it. Yeah. The way she says things, I always feel like she's putting some shade out there. But anyway, like
that's possible though. It's possible though. If you're feeling it, there's a huge possibility. But if she's not doing it, then I think you're looking for something that's not there.
Maybe so, man. Yeah,
I think time will tell on that one.
And you know, that brings back up what you were talking about earlier, though, about what we were talking about, just about how anyway, lost my train of thought because I was trying to think. What was the last thing you said? You said something.
Basically that, you know, we're alike, we're similar to each other, and that has come as a result of being with each other for so long that basically we're shaping each other. And a lot of my qualities are becoming part of Jill, and just a lot of her qualities are becoming part of me, because she used to be very black and white and used to be very very type A-ish, and she still is, but it's not as, she's more loving. And I think that also comes to with if your relationship, especially within the marriage role, is content and happy, it starts, there's a little bit of peace that comes into, and you don't have to be as defensive, as guarded. That's how you should know if your marriage is good, is if there's a lot more. Yes, there's going to be fights, there's going to be arguments, there's going to be disagreements, because you're two people coming into two different lives, coming together with different points of view, with different types of value systems and things like that. There's going to be conflict. There's going to have to be, because you're building something new, but that's all part of life, that's right. All part of being a human being, but it does make me think of the meme. I think you've seen it before, where there's a male lion, full mane, all that. He's up against he's in a zoo, and there's a female lion just roaring at him, and the male lion's like tucked down in the corner, just like. I was like, amen. I get it, buddy.
It's amazing, man. Like, it's really amazing how much, when things are in place in a marriage, how much of a reverence we as men have for our wives. And it's like our wives have this, they honor us, and they, support us. But as men, we have just this reverence for our wives, for what they say, for how they feel. And that's, I truly believe that's how it's meant to be. And that keeps that balance. And it's so funny, like you said, this male line, this huge man, clearly, this dominant, as far as physical dominance, but then this female line, just little words, just the way that she does it, can just have him, cowering, like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I'm sorry.
All right. All right. I calm down now. But
Like,
that's
all right, I'll take out the trash.
yeah, exactly. But I think a theme or a thread that we could both say and agree on with on this is uh this reverence that you spoke of and this honor in regards to her to him. What the common thread of that is mutual communication and respect, because women need respect too, you know. Aretha Franklin, Respect.
Come on,
That's her that sang that song. So, she's saying for respect. I think it's important for uh keeping it in line of, honor, reverence, but just respecting each other, because that's very important.
So when you said that, it also brought to mind how oftentimes I know marriages have struggles, but I'm thinking about outside of marriage, how oftentimes those roles aren't there. Like, how we were just saying, in a marriage, we truly, we reverence what our wife has to say. There's this mutual respect, but then at the same time, there's a level of power. The man has a certain level of authority, but the woman does too. And there's these roles that you don't have necessarily in relationships. And I think about all the abuse and things that go on. I'm just talking about like boyfriend, girlfriend type stuff now. And it just seems like, and I'm not saying everybody, because I know some folks are in healthy relationships, they're preparing to get married and all that kind of stuff.
You're talking about unhealthy relationships, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It just seems like it's a whole lot of that. And it's a big part of it is the roles are not there. And without that union, that marriage, there's no obligation, for folks to fill those roles. And as you and I are talking about, those roles have to, come with a lot of growth. And it's growth that we have through our marriage, through this union where God has his hand on us. And we'll both admit it's not something we could do on our own, by ourselves.
No, I definitely can't do this on my own.
We can't,
no
we
way.
would have been gone, our wives would have been gone. And I think it's important that folks understand that power, that is in something God put together.
You have to be willing to admit that there is a power that's higher and greater than yourself. Now, people kind of scoff at the idea of being dependent upon that power, but you have to take into account too some of the ideas that pop into my head that are really good ideas. If you really knew me, you'd be like, there ain't no way he came up with that idea.
Exactly. Likewise, man.
Ain't no way he came up with that idea. And so, I'm kind of curious about your thoughts on the infamous slap.
Man, you really threw me for a loop with that segue, though. You just went from great ideas, and scripture is what God is the giver of every perfect gift, but he's the giver of witty inventions. It's a scripture basis for that, and then you just threw in the slap. Okay, I'm trying to tie it together.
You don't need to tie it together. I want your thoughts on it as a husband. What your thoughts were.
All right. I was just trying to see how that spurred it. I think you're just looking for a hole to get it in there. All right, we're done talking with that. Let's throw this slap in. All right, so the slap, man, the slap heard around the world, which is crazy. It's crazy how something like that can take the forefront when we have, all kinds of atrocities going on. But
you're right about
the atrocities in Ukraine, that was brought to the forefront. But we know in a lot of countries right now, we still have, utter atrocities. Folks, thousands of folks dying by the day for lack of water. It's crazy how big this world is.
Yeah.
How small social media has made it, but yet how anything that the things that get highlighted are what's ever there for the moment, and it's
sensational.
You say what?
Sensational.
Sensational, yeah, and you know, it's I'm sure it's a reason. We know God is working in all of this, and I think all of it is meant to make us think bigger. But it's just interesting how fickle we are as human beings, how quickly our interests can be changed, and how easily it is for us to go about our lives. Because I mean, I guess our makeup is survival. So, and to survive, a lot of times we do take the path of least resistance.
Right.
But that to me is just really interesting, that dynamic. And I'm
uh-oh.
Gotcha. There we go.
So I lost you for a second.
Okay. Yeah, we have to program ourselves to think about the things that matter. All right, but now speaking about the slap, man, I've had mixed feelings from the morning after when I heard about it to now, which has been a couple weeks, and I'll just kind of walk you through the transition of my thoughts. And so originally that next day, well, I talked to my brother, and if you know anything about my brother, he's very kind of extreme when it comes to things. So he was like, I don't know why folks, you know, talking about Will Smith. I would defend my wife like that. All I can say, and I'm listening to my brother, I'm like, yeah, you're right. Kind of we talking about man. You're right. You can't judge a man defending his home. That's what he felt like he had to do, and which I agree in terms of protecting your wife and protecting your children, your family, and your home. You have to do what you have to do, and nobody can tell you what that is. But then I also started really diagnosing it from the standpoint of looking at Will Smith, his demeanor, and thinking about some of the things I've seen in the past with just he and Jada's relationship, and just that vulnerability there. And what I began to think was that, even when he reacted like that, that he was kind of, I don't want to label like emotionally unstable, whatever, but I think he was kind of in a place right then. He was totally reacting to how his wife felt, not really, considering his arena, where he was, the situation, and he wanted in that moment to do something to protect his wife. And if you remember, when in his speech to the Academy later, he was saying he got to play this role when he did the movie, playing the Williams sisters' father, and he was such a protector. And as an actor, I know we get immersed in those roles so much, we take on that spirit
persona,
and you don't know quite how it's going to affect the rest of your life. You don't know how you're going to detach yourself from it. It just kind of becomes a part of you. And so you had that at play. And then again, I won't get into the details, but most folks are somewhat aware of the situation, the marital situation, the things that were going on with Jada and some things. And so they were already dealing with a whole lot. And right after Chris Rock made the joke, you could see Will Smith laughing, and then you look over at Jada, you see she's clearly bothered, and I think he saw her face, and there was a switch that went on, and he just got up and did that.
So as a comedian, because you're a comedian too, did you feel like it was a little too far?
Well, the thing is, something my wife brought to my attention, because folks were saying, well, Jada has been verbal about how the alopecia has been affecting her ability to grow hair, and she was, this had been publicized, so to speak. But my wife, and saying Chris Rock should have known, but my wife was talking to me, and she's like, "Did you know I was like, no, I didn't know. I said, did you know? She said, no, I didn't know. Her brother was there too. He was like, yeah, I didn't know either. So, I mean, I know Chris Rock is a star, but he also has his own life. And my wife brought up the point that there's a possibility that he may not have known that, Jada was
suffering
with this,
through
or
that.
if he didn't know that she felt this way about the situation.
Right.
So because of that, now given Will and Jada might have a relationship with Chris Rock where maybe they knew that he should have known, but I'm just saying there's a possibility that he didn't. And in that regard, then I don't think the joke was too. I mean, comedians make edgy jokes all the time.
Oh gosh, yes.
A comedian.
That's why you're
the fact that they can make people laugh with dealing with things that are real in life is why they, is what they get paid for, because folks need to be able to laugh things off. That's part of life.
Right.
You have to be able to laugh sometimes, even with tough things.
Like when a kid falls down, sometimes, not all the time, but every now and then when a kid falls down, you might find it funny and laugh. It doesn't mean that you want the kid to be hurt, but it's unexplainable. You laugh.
Exactly. If a person, let's be real, 80-year-old person had a fall that took them 2 minutes
you're laughing now.
Fall, and then like trying to hold themselves up. Like, you don't really care about that person, and you're gonna make sure they're okay, but you can't help it if that was funny.
In the moment, it was funny to you. Yeah, exactly. It's something built into human nature. It is. It doesn't make it excusable, but I mean, it does happen. And
and I think as human beings, we have to be real with each other. It's like there's this whole fickle, today more than I've seen in my lifetime. Folks are just so sensitive about everything. And, you got this whole cancel culture craze. It's like somebody does one thing, we're going to cancel them, we're not going to support them. And then on the other hand, I don't want to get too deep with it, but on the contrary to it, we got this movement of, anything you want to do it. And it's like totally contrary to the word of God and to those standards and those principles. But it's like, it all supports this whole sensitivity. Is like, if that's what you want to do, even if it's jumping off a cliff, even if it's something bad, clearly, because a lot of this stuff has statistics attached to it. It doesn't matter. Folks are just like, hey, that's what they want to do. Let them do it. That's not love, and it's like this whole concept of love is like this soft putty. Pat everybody on the back. You're fine. Do what you want to do. When that's not love. And love sometimes is being hard with a person, is telling the person what it is telling the person, hey, you gotta be able to take some criticism, because if you want to do what you need to do, you gotta endure that. And we're missing that right now as a whole.
I think you're right with that, because two things came to my mind real quick when you were saying that. Is you have to have mercy, but you also have to have justice. You have to have truth, but you also have to have grace. You can't exclusively have one or the other, because if you do, then it bends too far one way or the other. It's guardrails for your life to keep you going, to help you prosper. I mean, it's all about being fruitful and multiplying, but what you're being fruitful and multiplying is good things. You don't want to get to a place where the whole world eventually destroys itself. That's the whole point of being fruitful and multiplying, is to continue to create more and more life and make it sustainable too. So, and again, in order to do that in the proper way, yes, you have to create boundaries and borders. Like, for example, if you have a child that is messing with the dial on the stove that's going to turn the gas on the stovetop, what do? You discipline the child. You have to discipline the child. Now, you have to do it in the proper way. You don't do it excessively, but you have to keep that child from hurting him or herself and or everyone in that vicinity. So again, if you don't do it, what are the consequences? And that's what you have to think about. You can't just let things go to such an extreme where it's not just that person getting hurt, but everyone around that person getting hurt. And that's, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with being able to have a dialogue and say, hey, let's talk about this. Just because I don't agree with what you say or what you think, well, I mean, okay, that's pretty clear. But nonetheless, I still want to hear what you have to say and what you think, because I need to understand the other side of what you're saying, because it's another side of the rail. I need to understand that rail. And that's really what good conversation is all about.
Exactly, man. So I'll finish up the Chris Rock thing, Will Smith, and just say again, I do think if Will was a little more sound right there in that moment and not as vulnerable as I believe he was, I think he would have thought through that and not felt like he needed to do something right then at that moment. And that's not a criticism. That's more so saying
just commentary.
I just think he would have done something a little bit differently. And then he came back and he apologized. So clearly he did feel like it was a little bit out of pocket, out of place, what out he of did. Character. So and I think so that's my take on it, man. I think if he could do
time will tell too, if he really handle it a little different. And I think time will tell too, because if he was truly sorry about what he did, he was going to forge a friendship with, I mean, they probably already are friends, but if I were to slap you, I'm pretty sure you would definitely slap me back. But hopefully we would be on the mend. We, at some point find a way to be on the mend. And to me, I don't, if you was really close to somebody, that's why I don't think they are that close. I mean, even if you were joking about something like that, you would know not to, because think about it, in all that crowd of people, you have anybody that you can put a joke on. So if you would do, if you did them and you had, even if you didn't know Jada had alopecia, you would feel like you wouldn't go after your friend, or your friend would also know, he's going to go after me. That's how he is. That's in talking it out, like right now, that they can't be as close as like you and me, because we can riff on each other all day long, and we know we're joking with each other.
Yeah, we know. And again, when you're that close, you also feel and you alluded to this, you kind of know what you can say. I mean, even if you don't talk about you know how that person feels about their certain spouse, things. And you just know what can be said. What's okay.
Right.
I'm glad you said alopecia. I just realized I was calling it like I was calling the girl's name. I said Lapecia earlier. I'm glad you gave me an opportunity to make that correction.
Okay.
Somebody probably say it. Watching earlier, like, who's Lapecia? I ain't heard it.
Crazy, man. But with somebody, you're talking about what you were talking about a little bit earlier, there is so much going on in the world. There's so much going on in the world that we just can't keep up with. But then there's some sensational things that'll happen that will kind of distract us from those events that are going on in the world. And, we have to be cognizant and stay aware and on top of the things are going on, because they do impact us. I mean, inflation's pretty high right now. Material costs, supply chains are being affected. We're living in a pretty unprecedented time that, when history books go back and write about it, how people talk about like different events in time. When we get older, we can talk about that point in time. Right. And then when they talk about it in the history books, like, no, I remember it pretty clearly. This is how it
Right, exactly. got this, son. Sit down.
Hold on now.
So let me since we're joking a little bit, just laughing like we always do. I got a little funny story that's not so funny, but it's something that happened to me this week, and I'm a little embarrassed about it, so I'm gonna vent.
So this is what it is. It's really a vent.
Yeah, man. So it's crazy. So I think it's interesting. We've kind of been talking about a little bit about like kind of what people just do in the moment. I think a lot of times you do in the moment what's in you at the moment. You know, it could be your heart, it could be where your head is. It's instinctive. So me being a performer, that's my backdrop for what I'm about to tell you.
Oh boy.
Me being a performer before I was a teacher in the classroom. When a performing element, when that circumstance arises, before I think about my education environment, I'm a performer. Okay.
Yeah, you're an entertainer. You're an entertainer.
So that's my background. So anyway, so Monday, we had a pep rally.
Yes.
Didn't give it two thoughts. You know, I took my class at the end of the day to the pep rally. A bunch of the other teachers, and this was an ACT pep rally because the juniors were taking the ACT the next day. So the principal wanted to do something just to motivate them. So he brought in like a local, rapper, DJ. He brought in some local like leaders for the youth and stuff like that. So we had speakers, we had all kinds of stuff. Well, the rapper and the DJ decided to do this dance-off competition or whatever. And so the rapper said, we want to make it interesting. So we're not just gonna have the students out here, we're gonna have the teachers out here.
Oh boy.
So I'm kind of dancing on the side, I'm just chilling. I'm not thinking about doing that, and I'm not there. Well, then my students are like, Mr. Lovett, go ahead, get out there. So I'm like, okay. So I get out there. And I'm kind of mild at first, but then it's a competition. So they start playing.
Oh no.
So, the students do something, then, I do something, whatever. And I go to my go-to, and one of my go-tos, but it works every time, my split, right? I hit the split. So, and I hit a split really good. Matter of fact, probably too good to be 37 years old still doing it. So I'm like, hit my split, and everybody goes wild. Woo, students got a point, now teachers got a point. All right. So then the DJ plays a song for the students, and it's a dance I had seen, but I didn't know it, so I didn't really feel comfortable doing it. But they start doing their dance, and all the student section goes wild, and the students doing their little dance. So the DJ's like, you know what? I played this for the new school. I gotta play something for the old school.
Oh boy.
Right. Pause. Okay. James. Oh my gosh. I thank God for these learning moments, man. Because anyway, but I can do all different kinds of dances. Back in the day, growing up in Birmingham, you had your thugs and your cool guy, your pretty boys and all of that didn't do nothing but, stand on the wall, try to talk to the girls, whatever. I could play that role. I wasn't a thug, wasn't a pretty boy like that, but I played the role, that role. But then I also like to have fun, and I used to like to impress the girls by getting down, and being able to, just pop, doing different, not pop locking, but just drop it down, do, and the girls love it. Hey, they liked it, they loved it. So anyway, so this DJ plays the go-to song when it comes to popping from back in the day.
Oh boy, you time traveled, didn't you?
You say what?
You time traveled, didn't you? You went back in time.
I did, man. He played Juvenile.
Oh no. Oh boy. Oh, you did not do that, do you? You didn't do that.
James, this is probably my number one most embarrassing moment of all time. So he plays the song, and of course, I'm not in teacher mode right now. I'm in competition mode. So I go way back, man. And I'm just like getting it, like go. And of course, everybody is going wild or whatever. And then finally, I hear the music stop. The music stop. The principal's like, all right, I hope y'all all having fun. Let me tell y'all, we're here to, for the ACT. I just want y'all to see your teacher. And he played it really well. I appreciate him because he was just like, your teacher's trying to just give it they all, just trying to motivate y'all. So he did that really well. But I was so embarrassed because it's like, I did that. And I was I got mixed the teachers the women teachers loved it. They from my time, they 30s 40s,
they can relate. Like,
oh, Mr. Lovett, but then I had some students that were guys, they were just like, Mr. Lovett, that no, that doing all that. And I felt them, and that's who I connect most with. So I was embarrassed. I was like, dang, I hate that, like, not hate, but I was like,
you hate it.
In my head, I'm like, dang, I don't like that my male students saw that as something not cool. And I got it. I totally get it because that was something we did back in the day. That was something I did kids, growing up, watching them. Fun, yeah. And it was just one expression. And so I get it. And these kids these days, they don't do that at all, especially not here in this city. That's just unbeknownst, just foreign to them. So I totally get it. So that was a lesson learned in many ways. Lesson learned in just remembering, of course, my surroundings, but also, really, but like I told my wife, what is in you will come out when instinctively. So there was no stopping me. The only thing that could have stopped me is if I had the mindset when I went to the pep rally. Okay, Derek,
don't get crazy.
Dance a certain way. You can't do certain things, and I honestly never got to do that because I had no thoughts about the pep rally whatsoever. Right. I was just taking my students.
Right, exactly. You didn't even think that you were going to get out there and do anything.
Right. And so what's interesting is for as many students that may have been like, that wasn't cool, like, guys, I really do feel like in the same vein, I inspired a lot of students because it was different. They saw a teacher out of their teaching element. They saw, because it's one thing for us to say as teachers, we've been there. It's another thing for them to see like, it. Oh, they've been there.
Yeah. It's like, oh, wait, they used to be younger too. So
exactly. So that's my story, man.
Well, that's a wonderful story.
I have to live with that. I was so thankful. Like, this is a laid back week. Like, we had ACT because the juniors were mainly on campus. Most of the other students were not for most of the week. I was so thankful because I've been uncomfortable all week. So hopefully this weekend to give me more time to get over it.
You're gonna be fine. Well, yeah. I have seen you pull many a dance move when we were roommates. So if you were able to shake all that off, I'm pretty sure you're gonna shake that off. This off too.
Correct. This is just a joke too. Correcting what you said. You said you saw me do many a dance moves when we were roommates. Yes, at the club.
I think you busted out a move in the house too.
Oh my gosh.
When you get into costume, man, you became a whole nother person once you got into costume.
I did, man. I did, man. When I was in character, oh my god.
You couldn't let it go.
No. Remember? No. Do you remember DJ DeBose?
Yes, I remember DJ DeBose.
Man, when I was locked in the character, man, that's the thing. That's the thing. And I thank God for it, but I've seen that in my life, just the ability to rise to the occasion, whatever it is, when I lock in.
When you hit that zone, you're in. Yeah.
Like I said, that's why I say I was a performer before I was a teacher. What can I say?
Yeah, you've always been entertaining. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
And especially if you're gifted at it and you deep down love it, it's like a glove. It just slips right back on. It's just It's pure love. It's Lovett.
So real quick, what's so funny is too, we had a faculty meeting later that day, like
Oh
at 3
my.
o'clock. The principal, he gets the mic, and like I said, I appreciate him. So this is how he says. He says, wow, what an amazing pep rally. Wow, we have some really, really, really talented people dancing. Oh my gosh, just really talented. And then you can hear murmurs and folks saying, "Mr. Lovett, Mr. Lovett." Then it just broke out into an ovation. By the way, like,
oh really?
They were just clap. Yeah, like I guess again, teachers appreciate. I say at least the
is there a YouTube video of this? This sounds. I kind of want to see this.
It's on Facebook, man. It really is. I'll send it to you. I know.
Yes.
I know, right? Yeah,
you have to send it to me. Now you have to send
it. It can live in infamy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely send that to me offline. Yeah.
You're gonna fast forward to like minute 32. So I'll send it to you.
Just so you know, Jill and I are gonna be watching this.
Oh gosh. Okay. I'll just say you'll know it when you see it. All right.
Okay, because this is way too. This is something else, man.
I know, man. I know. Yeah, I know. But anyway, bro, it's 8 o'clock, man. I love you, bro. Enjoyed it, man.
I love it. I know what you're trying to say. You gotta go.
Great as always, man. Yeah.
Love you, bro.
Until next time, love you, man.
All right. You too. Bye.